Why, hello. Midway Piper here. I hope all is going well. Having a little bit of a crazy beard day today. It's been pretty humid here the last couple of days, so oh well. The weather has been absolutely beautiful. It's in the low 70s today. It rained all day yesterday, which was nice. To a degree. Spent a good chunk of the day out in the rain doing stuff, so that was less than ideal, but we did in fact need the rain. Fall's really coming in nicely. We'll, yeah. These cooler nights have really helped me appreciate the warmth of the day. It's something you take for granted all summer. So, yeah. Housekeeping. We got the Bones Poker. You know it. It's the Bones Poker. In it, I don't know if I've smoked this since I opened the tin. Cornell and Deal San Sepulcro. That's this year's edition, 2025. Back in May. I think I maybe smoked it once or twice, and that was about it. I have 2 tins of it. And I don't really remember being very well impressed with it. But it's been open for a while now, so I figured I'd give it a shot again. It is Dark Fired Kentucky, Red Virginia, 2022, 2021, 19 Bright Virginia, and Dominican Black Cavendish Unsweetened. You open the tin, or when I opened the tin, it was very, it had that very bready Virginia smell to it, which was a delight. But as is often the case with all these small batches, I don't think I have developed enough palate to fully appreciate them. I would call this okay. But it's not something that I think I will frequently go for. But it's good to open these things up again and give them a try. See if they've changed, how they've developed. It's okay. I had some Burley Morning Pipe earlier today, so I at least had a good smoke today. Well, I gave you a preview already. I haven't done a Pipes and Books in a while. And so I figured I'd do one of those. Before I get into that, I just saw my doctor today. So you might remember a number of weeks ago, my finger was swollen up. And I went and got blood taken, x-rays done. And I went back for a follow-up today. And my doctor said that I'm a medical anomaly. Everything looks fine. There's no reason, but of course he saw my hand completely swollen up. So he has no idea. So they took some more blood, and he's going to refer me to a rheumatologist because it seems to follow a trend of some sort of inflammatory issue. The dose of steroids he put me on seemed to work initially, so who the heck knows? I've talked for years about seasonal arthritis in my hands, and everyone's always just been like, that's not a thing, shut up, you're stupid. Well, I also went to see my chiropractor today, and she had also said that she has many clients talking about how they are currently in the middle of seasonal inflammatory issues of various sorts. I'm not completely crazy. Not saying I'm not crazy, just not completely crazy. So, we'll see. I'm supposed to get a call from a rheumatologist at some point, and I might get an appointment sometime in the next 6 months or so, because they are incredibly busy. So that's the big update. So on to the books. I had some pretty good books that I've been reading over the last week and a half or so. I finished 3 books. I just started one today. So I'll show you guys those real quick. And we'll go from there. This is, doesn't really want to stay super well lit. Maybe I'm talking too much. Oh well. Ooh, that dark fire. Whoa. All right. All right. So the first book I read, What Kind of Mother, by Clay McLeod Chapman. Hey, I said his name right this time. It's about time. This is a horror story. There's the man. And this book was kind of creepy. So just by way of a quick, what is it about? Primary character is a lady named Maddie Price. And she moves back to the town she grew up in with her daughter and her ex, who's, well, obviously the ex is not living with them, but the daughter decided she wants to spend time with her dad, and her dad has remarried and has a family, and so she wants to go and live with them. The mother, Maddie, is not exactly stable on her feet, shall we say. They're very poor, and she is making money by being a palm reader, essentially, living in a hotel in this town. And she gets reacquainted with her high school boyfriend. They broke up, and turns out that his name is Henry, and his wife was found dead, and their child was missing. She had hung herself, supposedly, and the child was never found. And so she, despite not really having any psychic powers, just sort of pretending that she's reading people's palms and whatnot, she reads this guy's palm. She starts to have visions of things, and the two get closer and think that they can find where this missing child has gone. And as the story progresses, they find said child, but it sort of begs the question of, is it in fact the child, and what happened with his dead wife? Pretty interesting story. Definitely a horror story. I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was pretty good. It's not a very long story. It probably could have wrapped up a little quicker than it did, but I've got no real complaints. It was a pretty good story. So, What Kind of Mother by Clay McLeod Chapman is that book. After that, his name might ring a bell if you watched any of my previous Pipes and Books videos, because I've collected a whole bunch of his stuff lately, and I've read a couple of the books, and I said, okay, cool. Taking a little break from horror for a moment. What else do I have that I've wanted to pick up and read? Which leads me into the next book I read. Old Man's War by John Scalzi. This is a book series. I've shown you many John Scalzi books in the past. I absolutely love his writing style. All of his characters have delightfully sarcastic asshole personas, which makes it incredibly enjoyable and readable to me. They're also all very well narrated stories on audio. So, there are 6 books, and a 7th just came out a couple of weeks ago. Now, this is pretty much the last major books that he has written that I don't have, or I haven't read yet. I read most of his sort of standalone stuff, which pretty much left me with this series. And I was hesitant to get into it because 7-book series is, it's a commitment. So, I finally decided, all right, I'm going to dive into it. And again, Old Man's War. So, this series, when humans of certain places reach the ripe old age of 75, they have the option of joining. Option is, debatable. Option of joining sort of a special forces unit in a way. What do they call them? Colonial Defense Forces. And so when these 75-year-olds sign up and join on, what happens essentially is they take their genetics, they create a new body for them, and they transplant their brain, intelligence, all that personality stuff into this new body. Gives them a second life. And they just happen to have green skin. And so this book is primarily about a character named John Perry. His wife has died before him. He decides he's going to join the Colonial Defense Forces. And it's a story about what happens. It was fantastic. It was so good and so enjoyable. Guess what I did? I finished it, and then I jumped right into book number 2, The Ghost Brigades. The Ghost Brigades. Book number 2. There we go. Ghost Brigades is another name for the Special Forces unit. And there is surprisingly little carryover of characters. There's really only one character that carries over from the first book into the second book, which had me a little confused for a moment, but I can sort of see now that I finished book number 2 as well. This morning, actually. I can see where things are going. This story, there's a human that betrays. His name is Charles Bouton, and he betrays the Colonial Defense Forces. He's working with an alien race and doing bad things to the Colonial Defense Force. And so they try to go after him, and they find out that he has committed suicide, killed himself. Or has he? I don't think I'm spoiling anything here. He did not. He actually figured out how to transport himself into another body. This was a clone that he had created and killed to make it look like he had killed himself. And from that, they were able to take his DNA, and they were able to create a new version of him as a Special Forces unit to see if they could, in fact, unlock his memories through his DNA in a person that they create known as Jared Dirac. This is a story about wars with other races. It is a story about trying to see if they can unlock the memories of Charles Bouton in the new person that is Jared Dirac, and figure out where the heck this traitor went. Guess what? It was great. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the heck out of it. Both these two books. Fantastic. John Scalzi. Great writer, once again. Like I said, there are 6 books out in this set. I have 1 through 5. They didn't have 6 at the time. I'm going to pick up 6 tonight. And I'm taking a quick break. Book number 2, they all end in, so far, the first 2 books have ended in a way that there is no cliffhanger necessarily. Super potent cliffhanger, I should say, that makes you have to pick up the next book, other than the fact that I've enjoyed the stories thoroughly. But I'm taking a break. I'm not jumping into book number 3 yet. I decided I wanted to read something a little bit different for a moment, so I don't burn myself out by the time I get to book 4 or 5 and say, I don't care about the other ones anymore. I'm tired of this. So I'm taking a quick break. So what am I reading now? I'm sure you're dying to know, aren't you? Well, we'll get there. Maybe. Come on, San Sepulcro. This tin's been open for a little while. It's still pretty moist, so it's not wanting to stay lit very well. So what am I reading now? Well, you guys probably, if you've watched any of the previous videos, you know that there is another author that I have just been absolutely obsessed with lately, and that is Eli Cranor, a writer from Arkansas. I have read I've read 3 of his 4 books in the last month and a half. And this is book number 4, Don't Know Tough. I'm a couple chapters into this book. It's not a super huge book. I believe I'm about a quarter of the way through the book at this point. And it is, it's not disappointing at all. It is everything I love about Eli Cranor. I don't really know what category you would put his books into. I guess they're crime fiction, I guess is what you would call it. His most recent book and this book are based around football. He was a quarterback, not on any NFL team, but he did, I believe, play in some of the minor leagues and overseas. The man, the myth, the legend. So what's this book about? In Denton, Arkansas, the fate of the high school football team rests on the shoulders of Billy Lowe, a volatile but talented running back. Billy comes from an extremely troubled home at Trailer Park, where he is terrorized by his unstable mother's abusive boyfriend. Billy takes out his anger on the field, but when his savagery crosses the line, he faces suspension. Without Billy Lowe, the Denton Pirates can kiss their playoff bid goodbye. But the head coach, Trent Powers, who just moved from California with his wife and 2 children for this job, has more than his paycheck riding on Billy's bad behavior. As a born-again Christian, Trent feels a divine calling to save Billy, save him from his circumstances, and save his soul. Then, Billy's abuser is found murdered in the Lowe family trailer, and all evidence points toward Billy. Now, nothing can stop an explosive chain of violence that could tear the whole town apart on the eve of the playoffs. So, what's not really mentioned here is this head coach, Trent Powers. His career as a football coach while he was in California met a deplorable end. His team that he was coaching lost so many games. He had such a bad record that he lost his position. And the only place that he could go to find a new job coaching high school football is in this small town in Arkansas. Needless to say, them being from California, his wife hates it. She hates everything about it, hates the town, hates Southern people, hates their way of life, and all she wants to do is go back home. So Trent has a dilemma. His all-star has major behavioral problems. He grew up in foster homes, Trent, the coach. He was thankful his wife's dad essentially took him in and set him on the course of his life and taught him about coaching football. And because of that second chance, he sees this kid, Billy, as his opportunity to give somebody a second chance. In addition to that, though, Billy also has some problems. And if he can't play, the team is not going to make it and win the playoffs. A lot of problems going on. So this is seen from 2 perspectives again, just like his other book, Broiler, which was about a chicken processing plant in Arkansas as well. He's from Arkansas, so most of his stories take place in Arkansas or in that area of the South. Dog discovered something, chasing it off, and just realized he has his invisible fence collar on. That's okay. So Broiler, again, it's about 2 different perspectives. It's about a couple who work in the plant. They're poor as crap, and their jobs suck. Their lives suck. And the owner and his wife, the guy that owns the processing plant, or runs it, and his wife. So you see both ends of the spectrum, and it plays them off of each other. Eli Craner, if you have any interest, please check out his books. On Audible, I believe it's his first 2 books, so this one, and what's the name of the other one? Junkyard Dogs or something like that. remember. I'm not going to find it on here. Anything by Eli Craner, check it out. They are fantastic books. I highly recommend it. Maybe in the near future, after I finish this one, I'll do a quick author highlight on his 4 books. Check it out. This is a used copy of his first book. I got them all on hardcover. So this was a first edition that I got. When was this published? That's why there's no information about the other books, because he hadn't written them yet when this came out. 2022. So, Don't Know Tough by Eli Craner. Enjoying this thoroughly. Unfortunately, it saddens me greatly. Once I finish that, I will have read all of his books so far. And that means I have to wait. I don't like waiting. All right. So that's pretty much it. There's one last book I got in the mail recently. It is not something that it's not just sort of a casual read. It's more of a read and reflect kind of thing. It's more of a reference book, I guess you could call it. Gotta go pick up my son soon. We'll make it quick. Video's gone on long enough. If you have ever, this is a religious book, so if you have ever heard of Dwight Moody, D.L. Moody, he was a poor farmer who came from a poor farming family, I should say. He was not a farmer. He wanted to make money. That was his big goal. And so he moved to big cities, Chicago, Boston, and he was a shoe salesman for a period of time, a successful one at that. And he, early in his life as a shoe salesman with his, under his uncle in Boston, his uncle required him to attend church, and a fire was sort of awakened under him. Religious calling, you could call it. And he did not like the sort of obsession with the old ways that he was finding in the Boston community. And so he went on his way as a shoe salesman to Chicago and became a traveling shoe salesman from there. Again, very successful. And then he moved into sort of a ministerial life. He'd never had any real official training. But he traveled around. He was sort of an unconventional preacher. He was not super well educated in any way. And that was sort of a thing that made his preaching journey more difficult. There was a lot of hesitation to allow him to preach because of his lack of formal education. But he did a lot of work in giving kids a second chance. Leo, stop it. Giving kids a second chance, bringing them into the fold. Leo. So this book is Notes for My Bible and Thoughts for My Library by D.L. Moody. This is the Notes for My Bible section. You can follow along throughout the Bible. And he gives his thoughts on sections of the Bible. And then later on in the book, he expounds on some of those a bit more. But, you know, a lot of religious writings, commentaries, things of that sort are often written by those who are traditionally trained. And for people like myself who were not raised in the church, sometimes the ideas that are presented can be a little bit much, a little bit overwhelming. Some could even say a roadblock. And so I've been skimming through this book and really enjoying it. Reading from someone who, again, no formal background. So he says things in a very understandable way. Now, you could make the argument that he's not qualified because he didn't have the formal training, but you could think of him as an anti-establishment preacher. During the World's Fair, he actually rented out the largest tent he could find and did revival and preached revivals. It was a circus tent. And he asked to rent the tent on days the circus was not performing. And he filled the tent more than the circus could. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people would come to listen to him preach. And so he certainly got a name for himself. So I've been picking that up and reading bits of his commentary through that. So that's what I'm doing now. That's what I've been reading lately. Books I finished, what I'm reading now. Tonight we are going to, it's Family Fun Friday. So we are going to go bowling tonight. And just so happens there's a bookstore right there as well. So I'm going to go pick up book number 6 of Old Man's War by John Scalzi. And then there's another book that just came out by one of my other favorite authors, who I don't think I've ever mentioned on this channel before, Blake Crouch. He has a new book that just came out. So I'm going to pick that up tonight as well. And we'll go from there. So I hope you all enjoyed. If you stuck around this long, thank you very much. And I will see you guys in the next video. Have a good one. Bye.